Welcome, and thanks for joining me today. My name is Philip Walley, and I'm a product marketing manager here at Cato. Today, we're going to walk through one of the most persistent and often under-addressed challenges in global IT and network operations. And that is, how can you support China with the same performance, security, and compliance standards that you expect everywhere else? This session is designed to give you a clear, practical view into what's needed and what's been missing regarding China connectivity. We'll cover what global enterprises are really up against, the critical requirements to operate at scale, why legacy architectures keep falling short, and how Cato makes China part of the global platform, not some sort of carve-out. So let's get started. We're going to start by grounding this conversation in the reality of global enterprises today. You don't do business near China, you do business through China. Whether it's manufacturing, logistics, growth strategy, or partner operations, China is part of the enterprise operating model. It's not an add-on. China remains a critical link in nearly every production, sourcing, and fulfillment network. The entire business feels it when supply chain data or systems are delayed. Many companies have factories, warehouses, regional headquarters, or R&D centers across China. These aren't satellite offices, they're core contributors to global operations. Distributors, suppliers, and service providers inside China play a direct role in uptime, delivery, and customer experience. If your partners can't connect, your customers won't get what they need. And China represents one of the world's largest and fastest growing consumer and digital markets. For most multinationals, it's not just an operations center, it's a revenue driver. So the question isn't, is China important? The question instead is, how do we integrate China into our global IT and security architecture without creating risk, drag, or complexity? Now, if China plays a central role in your supply chain operations and growth, then what does that mean for IT? It means China has to meet the same standards as every other region in your global architecture. And if it doesn't, the consequences are very real. If you're not compliant with local requirements like VPN bans, internet content provider licensing, or data export controls, you're exposing your business to regulatory risk, deployment delays, or site shutdowns. You can't afford to move slowly or to operate in legal gray areas. Now, if connectivity is slow or unstable, everything from SaaS to voice calls are going to suffer. Your teams lose productivity and app adoption stalls. Users are feeling that impact. When performance inside China lags, your global business slows with it. Now, security needs to be enforced inside of China, not offloaded to another region. Without full stack controls like data loss prevention, zero trust network access, and secure web gateway, you risk data leakage and compliance gaps. Fragmented enforcement is a true liability. So, if China requires its own management stack, its own policies, and its own consoles, every update becomes a burden. Policy drift increases, visibility drops, and your team burns time managing exceptions instead of scaling the strategy. These aren't optional asks, they're foundational requirements. Unless they're built into the platform from the start, China becomes a drag on business agility. Now we know what we need. Let's see where traditional architectures fall short. Most enterprises are left to build their own cross-border connectivity. They have to secure, license, manage telco infrastructure, and navigate regulatory approvals. This adds weeks, months to every deployment, and when compliance issues arise, you're going to be responsible for fixing them. Without service level agreements, performance is unpredictable by design. Traffic is routed over public internet or partner-run circuits exposed to the Great Firewall, leading to latency, jitter, and packet loss. When users struggle to access apps, you get support tickets. And security enforcement is often partial or inconsistent. Some vendors inspect traffic outside of China, Others only apply part of their stack, URL filtering, but not DLP or threat prevention. You may be forced to deploy some custom POPs or appliances region by region to close this gap. That leaves you managing inconsistent enforcement, exposure to risk, and audit complexity. If China is treated as a special case, as in run with separate consoles and policies, then high availability often requires duplicating appliances, coordinating across multiple vendors, and managing regional exceptions. As a result, visibility drops off, policies drift, and every change becomes slower and riskier. Now, we see this pattern repeatedly. Architectures that technically connect China but operationally compromise the enterprise. That's why Cato has a different approach to eliminate the complexity and to make China a native part of the platform. Now, let's talk about what Cato does. Cato delivers secure, compliant, high-performance connectivity for China as part of the global platform. We eliminate carve-outs, reduce risk, and simplify operations. We deliver compliant, scalable cross-border access. Our in-country points of presence in Beijing, Shanghai, and Shenzhen are fully integrated into the global backbone. No separate deployment or customer coordination. You give us a point of contact, we take care of the rest. And we deliver SLA-backed performance inside and outside of China. Our private backbone ensures 99.999% availability and consistent performance for users and applications, no matter where they are. That's no carve-outs, no regional downgrades. And we deliver full-stack security enforcement inside of China. Zero trust network access, data loss prevention, secure web gateway, cloud access security brokers, all that is applied inline at the point of access with no offloading and no missing controls. You get the same protection in China that you expect everywhere else. And then we deliver operational simplicity. China is managed through the same console, same policy engines, with full visibility and global consistency. There's no duplication and no exceptions. That's what we do. We make China's connectivity secure, performant, and simple without the customer or you managing the complexity. So, which challenges show up the most in your organization today? Is it unreliable performance for users and applications? Navigating compliance and regulatory risk? Managing multiple vendors and consoles? Or last, long provisioning timelines and deployment delays? I'll give you a minute to answer that. So we've covered what Cato delivers, secure, compliant, high-performance connectivity for China. Now let's take a look at how we actually make that happen. So for regulation, cross-border traffic exits through Cato's Hong Kong POP, shown here. It's a compliant SLA-backed gateway, not a public internet route. This lets us maintain regulatory alignment while ensuring traffic moves predictably into and out of China. Now, China POPs, we operate our own licensed infrastructure. I mentioned it before, Beijing, Shanghai, and Shenzhen. These POPs are fully integrated into our backbone, not a handoff or a bolt-on. And for performance, the points of presence inside China form a fully meshed in-country backbone. This means that every POP connects directly to all of the others, not through a central hub, so traffic always takes the best available path. This mesh is what allows us to offer the 99.999% availability inside of China. It's resilient by design. Traffic automatically shifts to the next best path if one route degrades. Most vendors can't offer that because they either rely on partner POPs, single egress paths, or shared backbones that they don't control. For full stack security, every POP enforces the full security stack inline and in country, including the ZTNA DLP Secure Web Gateway and CASB offerings. Nothing's offloaded or partially applied. And for simplified, this is managed through a single global platform, the same policy engine console visibility as the rest of your deployment. There's nothing to duplicate and no region-specific build-outs to manage. This is the architecture that delivers what we promise and what legacy approaches can't replicate. So let's talk about what sets Cato apart, because many vendors claim China support, but very few deliver it natively, fully, and without caveats. Cross-border compliance is often a problem that you have to solve. With other solutions, you're responsible for sourcing a local telco, navigating regional licensing, and stitching that into a separate instance. With Cato, license POPs are already part of the platform. You basically just have to give us a point of contact and we will take care of the rest. Performance is just as patchy. Most vendors rely on MPLS or best effort public internet, which means you get unpredictable performance and they take no responsibility for it. Cato delivers the SLA-backed performance inside China and globally with no carve-out and no disclaimers. Security enforcement is usually fragmented. That basic filtering inside of China, you often end up with that. But you can't get the advanced capabilities like DLP or threat prevention. These are offloaded, tiered, or required some sort of custom POP. Cato delivers full stack security inline and in country with no need for special SKUs or regional limitations. It's all just part of the platform. Operations, that's where most vendors completely break. You get parallel consoles, separate licensing models, and duplicated policies, which means more overhead, more risk, and more inconsistency. Cato runs on one platform with one global policy engine, and that includes China. This is the difference between we have a workaround and we built it in. Cato delivers the platform. The others, they leave you managing the complexity. So if you're planning a new China connectivity strategy or evaluating whether your current setup is sustainable, these are questions you should be asking, not just technically, but operationally, strategically, and at scale. First is, how do you deliver compliant, scalable connectivity into and out of China? If the answer involves manually sourcing telco providers or coordinating license through third parties, that's a red flag. You need compliance built into the platform, not something your team negotiates region by region. And how do you ensure predictable performance for users and applications inside and out of China? If the provider can't offer SLA-backed performance through China or relies on best effort internet, then your applications will be unpredictable and your support tickets are going to keep piling up. And how do you enforce full stack security locally in China without relying on offloaded inspection? As we've discussed, that inspection has to happen inline, in country, and at the same level you expect globally. Otherwise, you carry compliance gaps, audit risk, and potentially blind spots. And last, how do you manage China operations without duplicating platforms, policies, or consoles? The moment China is carved out of your operations, it's causing operations to slow down. You're managing two environments with drift, inconsistency, and increased cost. So these questions that I've asked, they aren't hypothetical. They're questions global IT and security leaders are asking right now, and the answers are determining whether China becomes an integrated part of the enterprise or remains a costly exception. Now that we've looked at what's needed and how most vendors fall short, let's take a moment to reflect. What's your biggest blocker to making progress in China today? Is it local compliance and licensing requirements? Is it the lack of performance SLAs or reliability guarantees? Possibly solutions that don't integrate with your global architecture? Or is it just too much operational overhead to manage another exception? I'll give you a minute to think and answer on that. So Cato turns China connectivity from one-off projects into part of your global's IT strategy. You no longer need separate deployments, telco contracts, or region-specific rules. China becomes an extension of your platform, not an exception to manage. Here's what you get. SLA-backed performance that ensures predictability for apps and users inside and outside of China. Inline security enforcement applied locally, not offloaded or watered down. A single global policy engine, that same policies, visibility, and consoles across every site, and built-in compliance delivered through licensed infrastructure and aligned to China's regulatory requirements without requiring you to own that complexity. These are the outcomes that matter. If China is critical to your business, solving it at the platform level enables you to move faster, reduce risk, and operate globally. Let's talk about what that looks like for your business. Whether you're planning a rollout, assessing your current state, or just starting the conversation. So thank you for spending some time with me today. I hope this gives you a clearer view of how Cato solves China connectivity, not as a side project, but as a part of your global platform. If China is still an exception in your network, let's talk about how we can change that quickly and simply. Thank you.